April 14th, 1865, Washington, D.C. was celebrating. The war that had torn a nation apart for 4 long years was finally ending. People filled the streets with music, laughter, and hope. Inside a crowded theater, the President of the United States sat smiling with his wife. But hidden somewhere in that same building, a man was waiting, a man with a gun. Within minutes, one single shot would echo through history, a shot that would kill a president and turn him into a legend. This is the story of the man who rose from nothing, led a broken nation through its darkest war, and paid the ultimate price for it. This is the story of Abraham Lincoln. Long before he became president, Abraham Lincoln was just a poor boy growing up in a tiny wooden cabin. No electricity, no proper school, no wealth. He was born in 1809 in a small frontier settlement in Kentucky. Life was harsh. His family struggled to survive, working long days on rough land. But Lincoln had something rare, a hunger for knowledge. He borrowed books whenever he could find them, sometimes walking miles just to read a single one. At night he studied by the light of a fireplace. No one around him imagined that this quiet boy would one day lead a nation. But Lincoln believed something powerful, that a man's future was not decided by where he was born, but by what he chose to become. Lincoln didn't start as a hero. He failed many times. He lost elections. He struggled in business. He faced personal tragedies. Yet every time he fell, he stood up again. Slowly, his reputation began to grow. People noticed something different about him. He spoke with honesty. He believed in fairness. And he had a powerful belief that slavery was morally wrong. By 1860, America was deeply divided. Northern states opposed slavery. Southern states depended on it. The country was on the edge of collapse. And somehow, the unlikely candidate from Illinois became President of the United States. But Lincoln had no idea that his presidency would soon push the nation into the bloodiest conflict in its history. Just weeks after Lincoln became president, the country exploded into war. Southern states began leaving the Union. The American Civil War had begun. Families were divided. Brother fought against brother. Cities burned. And the young president now carried the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders. Over the next 4 years, more than 600,000 Americans would die. Every day, Lincoln read reports from the battlefield. Every day, he saw the cost of the war. But he refused to give up. Because for Lincoln, this war was about more than victory. It was about freedom. In 1863, Lincoln made the most dangerous decision of his presidency. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This order declared that millions of enslaved people in Confederate states were now free. It transformed the Civil War from a political battle into a fight for human freedom. Many people praised him, but others hated him for it. Some even called him a tyrant. Death threats arrived almost daily. Lincoln knew the danger, but he once said something that revealed his courage. If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. By 1865, the war was finally ending. Union forces had defeated the Confederate Army. America had survived. Slavery was collapsing. People celebrated in the streets of Washington. For the first time in years, Lincoln allowed himself to relax. He planned to rebuild the nation, to heal the wounds between North and South. But while the country celebrated peace, someone else was planning revenge. His name was John Wilkes Booth, a famous actor, a strong supporter of the defeated Confederacy. Booth believed Lincoln had destroyed the South, and he believed the president had to die. On April 14th, 1865, Lincoln and his wife attended a play at Ford's Theater. The audience laughed and applauded the actors on stage, but behind the scenes, Booth quietly moved through the theater. He knew the building well. He waited for the perfect moment. Then he stepped into the president's private box and fired a single shot. The gunshot shocked the theater. For a moment, people thought it was part of the play, but it wasn't. Lincoln collapsed in his chair. Booth jumped onto the stage and shouted a phrase before escaping into the night. Chaos filled the theater. Doctors rushed to the wounded president, but the bullet had done terrible damage. Lincoln was carried across the street to a small house. There, through the long night, the nation waited. At 7:22 the next morning, Abraham Lincoln died. News spread across the country like a storm. The president who had saved the Union was gone. People cried in the streets, church bells rang, cities fell silent. Millions lined the railroad tracks as Lincoln's funeral train carried his body across America. The boy who grew up in poverty, the leader who fought to end slavery, had become something more. Today, more than 150 years later, the face of Abraham Lincoln still stands carved into stone, watching over a nation he fought to keep united. He wasn't born powerful. He wasn't born rich. But he believed in something bigger than himself. And sometimes, history remembers not the men who seek power, but the ones who sacrifice everything to protect freedom. If you enjoy watching thrilling and mysterious stories from history, where every story hides an untold truth, and every video takes you to the most intense moments of the past, then make sure to hit the like button on this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.